Recently, a game jam was held by GameJolt and the Five Nights at Freddy's subreddit. For those of you that don't know, a game jam is an event where developers are given a certain amount of time to make a game with a provided theme. In this case, people were told to make a FNAF Fangame with the theme of non-horror. In this video and the next video, we're going to be discussing a total of 18 of the jam entries, so buckle up because there's going to be a lot to go over. Every game featured in this video will be linked in the description if you want to play any of them before or after you watch the video. I always recommend supporting underground indie developers. We're going to tackle these one by one. Once again, there will be 9 in this video alone, so let's get right into it. Super Freddy is a cute and fun platformer starring the main man, Freddy Fazbear. And yes, I am an Easter egg in this game. The dev was so happy that I was supporting their game that they were kind enough to put an Easter egg of me. I'll be showing this and explaining this, but this video is about these games, not just me, so let's go over the actual game first. Super Freddy is a retro-style platformer with 6 levels. At the time of the jam release, there weren't any enemies in the game, it was more about precision, but the main goal for me at least is getting the secrets. I will add, and I will mention this again later, this game will receive updates before this video is out because this took a long time, so there might be enemies in the game now that the video is out. There aren't a lot of secrets, but considering this was for a jam, the content in this little game is pretty amazing. The game is also simply fun. I love platformers, even if I'm awful at them. I love the retro style, I've talked about that before. I love when games try to recreate the charm and feeling of old school games. I like that it's a bit of a collect-a-thon. I find trying to get every slice of pizza in the level pretty satisfying. The level design is really simple, but there are definitely parts that feel pretty well crafted. And the music and sounds are just royalty-free from a website, but I think they ended up fitting the game really well. There was a problem with the first build where when the character turned, they would also move slightly because turning around just wasn't implemented well, but that was very quickly patched, so the game plays extremely well, and it's a fun little game to spend some time on. It's also worth mentioning that this game has a really good final boss. I think the entirety of the final level is really good with the castle theme that games like the original Mario had, but the final boss is great. You have to run away from the Fredbear chasing you, avoiding obstacles in the way, almost like a temple run kind of scenario. There are 3 large buttons that you have to press on the way, and hitting the last one will kill Fredbear, and you can win the game. The chase is exciting, it's not too easy and not too hard, it feels tense. I really like it. Super Freddy also has a secret ending that's not too hard to get, but I really love it. If you go to the left at the beginning of a level, as indicated by the little arrow on the side, you'll enter a room with 1 item. If you go off-screen to the left on the first level, you get Freddy's microphone. On the second, you get Bonnie's guitar. On the third, you get Chica's cupcake. On the fourth, you get Foxy's hook. And on the 5th, you get a key. Lastly, on the final level, you enter a glitchy version of the Happiest Day minigame. If you walk to the right and reach the very end, you'll find the puppets in their box, and you get the special ending. It's really simple, but I really appreciate the little details. FNAF is about mystery, but most game jams just don't have the time or space for secrets, and I appreciate the effort that went into making this game as full as it could be within such a short time limit. Now, the last secret. The one in the title and thumbnail. The one you've all been waiting for. Throughout levels 1 to 5, there are 10 characters, letters and numbers. In level 1, there's a T and an H. In level 2, there's a 3 and a B. In level 3, there's an A and a D. In level 4, there's a D and a 3. In level 5, there's an S and a T. And after levels 1 to 5, you beat level 6, and if you collected every character, there will be the baddest written at the bottom of the title screen. And if you click it...
Why, hello there, old sport. Why, hello there, old sport. Why, hello there, old sport.
Yep. So yeah, every character in my name can be found throughout the game, and collecting all of them causes my name to appear at the bottom of the title screen, and clicking on it causes Dave to appear along with a sprite of me. This is like the most perfect thing it could have been. Nothing could have been more specifically exclusive to me. I love this. This is amazing. S-tier fan game by default. In all seriousness, massive shout out to Preston C3PO, the developer of the game. This is obviously a silly, funny Easter egg, but the fact that they did this for me just means the world to me. Not only did they do this for me, they did this in such a short period of time. This was for a game jam and already had a lot of content, and they took the time and effort to get this in the game before the jam was over. So yeah, thank you so much, Preston C3PO. I really appreciate this. To sum this up, much like basically every game that's ever been made for a game jam, Super Freddy is pretty short and really simple. But this game does honestly feature so many things that I love. Simple but fun gameplay, a cute and retro style, fun little secrets, solid choice of music. It's not super complex, but it's fun and actually has quite a bit of content for a game jam game. Once again, I will state that this will be getting updated, and by that I mean the update might have already come out because this video took a long time to make. The developer is adding enemies and one more power-up, and maybe a couple more patches, I'm not sure. So the game will have a little more challenge and complexity to it, which is pretty cool. Once again, link in the description. I'm biased to some extent because the dev did something incredibly nice for me, but I'm being honest here. I'm not saying this is the best game from the jam. I'm not saying this is one of the best fan games I've ever played, but I genuinely love so much about this game, and I really appreciate the content that it delivers. Fazbear's Pizza Hunt is one of the simplest games that I'm going to talk about, but it is genuinely one of the ones that excites me the most. Fazbear's Pizza Hunt resembles a game from the N64 era, which is like my favorite thing ever. Picking my favorite console is always difficult, but it's between the N64 and the Wii. There just simply isn't an era of gaming that could even remotely resemble the N64 era. It has the first 3D Mario game that still holds up very well. It has the first 3 Mario Party games, and they're some of the best ones to this day. It has the first Smash Brothers. It has Mario Kart 64, Kirby 64, 2 of the best Zelda games, Pokemon Snap, and of course, all of the amazing games from Rareware. So if I'm being honest, any game that recreates that style gets even more credit for me than the arcade style. Fazbear's Pizza Hunt recreates the charm of the N64 era of gaming so well that I inherently love it. But the actual game, Fazbear's Pizza Hunt, is a simple collectathon starring the man Freddy. It's an N64 style collectathon with a bear, so yeah, it does kind of just look like Banjo-Kazooie without Kazooie, but it's fine. In this game, you run around this great location full of grass and trees and beaches, and gather slices of pizza scattered all around the map. There are also some enemies from FNAF World that you can beat up with your fists. I have some constructive criticism for this game in particular, but I want to talk about the stuff that I actually really love and also explain why I see such tremendous potential here. First, I'll say this one last time before I just say it too many times. This game stylistically is perfect. The graphics are nostalgic and charming, and the colors really pop. This is just a very aesthetically pleasing game. But secondly, the controls are really tight. Freddy's movements are really smooth, the double jump feels like it has some real weight to it, the combat is solid, Freddy's moves are also clean, which is why I really wish there was more to the level design. And that's where the constructive criticism comes in. This game is just too simple. I love simplicity, as I've shown many times, but there is a point where a game has too little to actually be interesting. There aren't really any obstacles that interfere with your ability to access the pizza slices, and there are very few enemies. There's a mountain to climb with some enemies on it, and that's the most significantly interesting part of the game because it's the only time where there are consistently obstacles and activity. There's just too much nothing. You run around, and within a few minutes you've seen everything the game has to offer. However, this game has obvious potential. The Game Jolt page says that there will be more content added in the future, and I just hope that means more levels. Once again, the concept is there. It's a platformer collectathon like Banjo-Kazooie. The visuals are perfect, it resembles 90s 3D games, which I would say is one of the best eras of gaming. The controls are excellent, Freddy jumps, runs, and attacks really smoothly. Some more levels, or even just a more advanced version of this level, would make this a genuinely phenomenal game. In my eyes, at the very least. And I was going to ignore this for the sake of the video, but I never achieved a way to fix it, so I feel the need to mention it. I wasn't actually able to beat the game because there was a pizza slice behind an invisible wall, and I just couldn't get it no matter what I did. I let the dev know about this, but never got an update, so I'm assuming other people just aren't having this problem. I mean, it'd be pretty weird if they released the game with this problem, because they would have beaten their own game before releasing it. Hopefully, if you guys download the game, you won't have this problem. I recommend trying it out regardless. So yeah, I kind of have no choice but to acknowledge this because you will see that I never beat the game, and it's also just a bit of an issue that other people could have. Overall, Fazbear's Pizza Hunt isn't the best or most fun game from the jam, but it arguably has more potential than any other. All the pieces are there, it's just about crafting the gameplay right. Still though, a really adorable game. Alright, we've talked about the impressiveness of 2 games. Let's get into something really goofy. One day, Purple Guy woke up and realized, oh shit, I have no bitches. He then proceeded to fuck Freddy, Phantom Freddy, Spring Bonnie, and Lolbit. Yeah, this is a FNAF World dating simulator. I literally couldn't figure out how this game worked, but you cannot expect me to not include this in the video. The 4 characters that I listed all have bars measuring our connection numerically. You can ask them out on a date if you have the money, and you can also just click on them to increase the number by 1 for each click. But I couldn't figure out how to do anything. When I asked Freddy on a date, he asked me where to go. I said pizza, and he liked that answer, but all I got was 4 points. You know, the equivalent to 4 clicks. I also couldn't figure out how to get more money, but I don't know if there would have been a point since dating seems pretty pointless with the clicking mechanic. I never finished the game because I just couldn't figure out how to do anything but click on the potential dates, and I got one of them all the way up to 1,000 points, and nothing happened, so I don't know how long I was expected to keep trying. I do have one interesting thing to share. I clicked on Golden Freddy's head in the background of Phantom Freddy's location, and then I had the chance to date him. I got him to 100 points, and when I walked away, he murdered me. And if that's not love, I don't know what is. This game is ridiculous, and again, I couldn't even figure out how it functioned, but as far as I'm concerned, S tier. Convolution Curtain is a shoot-'em-up game where you play as Freddy and annihilate haunted party hats. I guess it may not be the most original, but I simply love these types of games. As I've said quite a few times, I'm a sucker for arcade games, and this genre is just a gem from that era that continues to thrive in indie gaming. And this one in particular is pretty charming. The graphics are really nice and definitely give off a classic computer game type of aesthetic. Maybe this style isn't for everyone, but I just really like it. It gives off a nostalgic feeling without sacrificing quality, kind of like 8-bit and 16-bit games, but arguably more creative. As for the actual gameplay, it's pretty much what you would expect, but that's not a bad thing. Different hats attack in different ways, and your only move pretty much is to shoot. But there is one additional mechanic. You have a set number of bombs that wipes out all the enemies on screen, or at least nearly all of them. It kind of reminds me of Lixian's Shield Blast, which is definitely one of the best shoot-'em-ups I've ever played. There is also a mid-game boss and a final boss, both of which are the famous Sparky the dog. Before the final boss, Freddy and Sparky have a little conversation where Freddy doesn't know who Sparky is, and Sparky gets offended. It's a little bit cringy, but it's cute. I do have a problem with the mid-game boss, though. Sparky just shoots in a circle around the map, and if you sit directly in front of him, you can't get hit, and you continuously hit him. I didn't actually kill him, and he just left, so I'm assuming I would have gotten some sort of reward for finishing him off, but there should probably still be a challenge. As a whole, though, this game is actually pretty hard. I died once and had to use a continue, which I wasn't expecting. My main issue, though, was just that I was so hesitant to use my bombs. I took so many hits when I didn't need to because I was underestimating the amount of bombs I could use. So yeah, although it was short and simple, it was fun, and I have to say, this is said to be just stage 1. So this game will have more content in due time. What we're seeing is just the jam release. So I'm definitely excited to see more from this game because I love the style, and I'd love to see how the devs build upon the foundation. This is the Freddy Resurgence. Isn't it beautiful? This is a maze game, kinda, with the very famous Freddy. You just use your mouse to guide him through the paths, and if you hit an edge, this happens. I'm pretty sure this is based off of the Scary Maze game, or at least that's what it reminds me of, if you remember those days at all.
Remember, don't go too fast.
Put it on the dot, put it on the dot.
I think the game is only 3 levels. I reached the end of the 3rd stage, and the game didn't continue, but it also didn't tell me I won, so who knows? This game is art. This is humanity's peak. Freddy's Nose Honk game experience. Surprisingly, this is probably the game closest to resembling a classic FNAF game. Freddy's Nose Honk game experience is a game where you honk Freddy's nose. The fuck did you expect? Unicorns playing tennis? Your goal is to honk Freddy's nose while avoiding obstacles from the other 3 main animatronics. In the top left, there's a meter measuring how close Bonnie is to attacking. You have to push the B button to bring it back up, but there's a cooldown for it, so you have to wait until the appropriate time. Chica will also sometimes appear in the top left, and you just have to press C to get rid of her. Then there's Foxy, who is off-screen to the right. You have to check on him from time to time to make sure he hasn't fallen asleep. If his head is down and his eyes are closed, you have to click his face to wake him up. The game ends once you've clicked Freddy's nose 75 times, and on the hard mode, you win at 100. This game is really simple, and I didn't even die once, but I'd actually say it's alright. It was just made for a jam, and it could have ended up a lot worse. It doesn't look very good, but it controls totally fine. I had no issues with the hitboxes, and there were never any issues or inconsistencies with the mechanics. Again, it was easy and simple, but that's not abnormal for a FNAF-style game. If the graphics were improved and there was a bit more content, it'd be a totally fine, reasonable fan game. It wouldn't blow up, Scott wouldn't put it in the fanverse, but yeah, I honestly think the mechanics here are totally solid, nothing wrong with them. Also, this happens if you click Freddy's nose on the title screen. Normal Nights at Freddy's is a game where you have a normal night at Freddy's. At first glance, this doesn't look like a non-horror FNAF game. This looks like a recreation of the FNAF 1 setting. You can even control the doors and the cameras. But here's the twist, my friends. Nothing happens. When I played this, I won't lie, I was very confused. I was just like, what do I do? After a little of nothing happening, it hit me. This is a normal night at Freddy's. This is the same position as the night guard in FNAF 1, but it is normal, meaning nothing paranormal happens, and your job is literally just to watch the place. So yeah, this game is boring, and there's no real point in playing it. But if I'm being honest, I just found this funny. The title makes it obvious what the game is, but I did not think this would be the case when I downloaded it. I don't think anyone would, really. Whether or not this was meant to be a gag or not, this was a pretty good gag. FNAF Tower Defense is a tower defense game, but with FNAF, and it's pretty fantastic. As expected, you have a certain amount of weapons that you can buy to place as defense, and they all do different things, and these are represented by the animatronics. The game is structured by waves where enemies will run from the start of the map to the end, and every time they reach the end you lose a bit of health. You place your weapons to attack the enemies before they reach the end, and it gets harder after each wave. This is pretty basic tower defense game stuff. Most people know this kind of gameplay. As I said, this is a surprisingly well-crafted tower defense game. It's fun, it's not too easy and not too hard, it looks pretty decent, although the general area could have a little more detail. However, I feel the need to bring this up. To put it bluntly, this game straight up crashed my entire PC. Both of my recordings of this game cut off randomly because my entire computer froze while playing this game. This doesn't happen with any other games I play, and it didn't happen with any of the couple dozen jam games I played, but it happened twice in a row with this one. I have no idea why or how, and I don't know if this will happen to anyone else, but my PC is pretty damn powerful, and I never have a problem like this one. So I'm a little hesitant to recommend this game to everyone watching, but I know the game has been updated, and I want to believe this won't happen again. But also the computer just froze, there was no resulting damage, so if it crashes once, I think you'll be fine. Just do what you feel okay with, and maybe if I'm not the only one, the dev will acknowledge this. Something I would like to point out that I do think is pretty interesting is just how much a tower defense game fits FNAF. The classic FNAF formula is a point-and-click game about utilizing your resources to prevent a threat that is always heading towards you. It's not the same, but it is comparable, and a FNAF-themed tower defense game with a unique style works really well. I don't have that much to say about this because it is a tower defense game. You can fill in any blank that I might have left out, but I doubt I've left anything out. Ignoring the crashes, again, I hope that is fixed. This is a really great fan game, and pretty damn impressive for a Game Jam game. Fazbear Armageddon is a FNAF first-person shooter that actually won the #1 spot in the Game Jam, and I won't lie, it's my #1 as well. There's not a whole lot to say about this game besides the fact that it is ridiculously good. This is a really charming FPS game that's divided into 3 levels and 1 final boss. You go through each section, clearing hordes of enemies, trying to stay alive and make the best time possible. The basic enemies are little endos that crawl, there are taller endos that shoot flames at you, the first boss is a giant golden Freddy head that charges at you and appears a couple more times later on, and the insanely cool final boss is a massive mangle that swings its arms at you in a big ball pit. I will say, this game is actually pretty damn hard. There are 5 difficulties, and the hardest difficulty I beat the game at was the 3rd, and I still died a few times in the process. Obviously, if I kept practicing and kept trying, I would eventually improve and get the hang of it, but this is certainly a challenge that a baby gamer like me is not up to face. I genuinely love everything about this game. The movements are ridiculously smooth. At the beginning there's a very short tutorial to introduce the controls, but it's more of a showcase of how goddamn fun this game is going to be. Your movements and jumps are amazing. You can slide under things and you can double jump. In the heat of battle, it's just ridiculously fun and useful to be able to swiftly dash all over the place and avoid and attack enemies. And like I mentioned, the final boss is so cool and really fun. You have to dodge Mangle's arms and continuously shoot at them whilst moving basically constantly. It's pretty challenging, it looks great, and it's exciting. I really want to talk about this one more because, again, it is my favorite from the jam, and I think it's a legitimately great game by itself. But there's just not a lot to analyze, even if it is really good. It's a shooter where you go from room to room and try to survive. It's pretty simple, but trust me, everything about this game is so well done, and it's such a fun time all around. So, that was 9 games that were entered into the Fredit Game Jam. As I said, these will all be linked in the description, and I'll have another 9 to share with you soon. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It took quite a bit of effort to get this out, because there's going to be 2 of these, and that's a lot. But I really enjoyed going through this game jam and checking out so much stuff from so many creators. If you had a good time, I'd really appreciate it if you would like the video and leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at I'mTheBaddest, or click the links in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.